What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our ACC football channel. We've got our updated predictions for the conference after week 2 of the college football season, and there have been a lot of changes. At the top, maybe not so much. We still have the same championship prediction, actually, but if you look at the middle of the pack, bottom tiered teams, really the middle of the pack, I think, is where we've seen a lot of changes in what we thought from the preseason. So let's get right into it. In the ACC Atlantic, it's still Clemson and everyone else. No real change there. We still have Clemson going 12-0 undefeated, which is exactly where we had them in the preseason. But behind Clemson, there have been some changes here to our predictions. Boston College has surprised me the way they came out and got a big win in week 1. Bumped them up to 7-5. Preseason, we didn't even have this team go into a bowl game, so that is a big improvement there. NC State, really the same thing for them, 7-5. That's where I had them preseason. Not really expecting anything different for this team. Wake Forest, 7-5 as well. Had them at 8-4 in the preseason. I think the game against North Carolina this week can actually drop that a little bit. I had Wake Forest beating North Carolina in the preseason, but I think maybe North Carolina wins that game. That's really the difference, but I still feel about the same about this Wake Forest team. Syracuse, yeah, I've dropped them to 7-5. Did not look good at all against Maryland this past weekend. Maybe they're better than 7-5. We'll see. I wasn't sold on this team. You know, they were ranked 21 or whatever it was coming into this season, and I didn't rank them in any of my polls. Preseason, week 1, I did not put Syracuse in my top 25 because there are just too many question marks for me. I wasn't sold on them being a great team. I think they're a good team. I think they'll be competitive in the ACC, but I still think they lose some games, and they finish 7-5. So that's actually a drop-off from 9-3. Did not expect them to lose that Maryland game in the preseason. Did not expect that. So that does change our predictions a little bit for Syracuse. Florida State, we haven't changed a whole lot. I did have them beating Boise State, but other than that, everything else stays the same. So we drop them from 7-5 to 6-6. Same conference record. I had them at 4-4 in the preseason. And then Louisville, I feel a little bit better about this team after watching them play Notre Dame. And they got an easy win last week. 4-8 is now my prediction for the Cardinals. I had them at 3-9 in the preseason. I still don't think that this team makes a bowl game. I just don't think they're quite there yet. But I really like what I've seen defensively, especially. This team has really improved a lot from last season. The offense will come. Depth is going to be an issue. I think when you see them play a good team like Clemson or one of these other good teams in the ACC, depth could be an issue in the second half. They could start to wear down a little bit, and because they lost a lot from this roster. It's really a depleted roster. They had, I don't have the number, but it was like 20 guys maybe that transferred. I mean, it was a ton of players transferred. Had some guys graduate as well. So Louisville improved, but still at the bottom, and it's just Clemson's division to lose. I don't see anyone really challenging them. NC State's interesting. Haven't seen them play anybody good yet, but they've looked pretty good through 2 games. How are they going to be this year? Syracuse, I just don't think is a legitimate contender in this division. And Florida State has some talent, but they've got issues. So to me, it's just mixed up big time. From 2 all the way really down to 7. I think Louisville's not far behind these other teams, but Clemson is still the favorite by far. In the Coastal Division, we have Virginia winning it. Same as in the preseason. I had them at 10-2. I'm going to stick with that. 10-2, win the division. They've looked pretty solid through 2 games. So yes, Virginia, I think, will go to the ACC Championship. North Carolina is the surprise team. We have flipped their record. We had them at 3-9 in the preseason. Now we have the Tar Heels at 9-3. This team's the real deal, it looks like, through 2 games. Sam Howell, very solid as a true freshman quarterback. Mac Brown has really got this defense playing at a different level than it played last year. This is a very impressive team. And I think they finished number 2 in this Coastal Division, tied with Miami. Obviously, they just beat Miami, so they would have the head-to-head tiebreaker there. Really impressed with North Carolina. It's early. Maybe we're jumping the gun a little bit. This game against Wake Forest, I think, will be another big test for them. But if they can start 3-0 with 3 wins over Power 5 teams, they're going to have a lot of confidence going into the rest of the season. And I think they actually can legitimately get to 9-3 based off of what I've seen so far. Miami is at number 3. I'm not ready to give up on Miami at this point. I know they've lost 2 games, but they were both close games. The team is competitive. The defense is good again this year. Jaron Williams looks pretty solid at quarterback. I think Miami still has a chance in this division, honestly. I think they have a chance to win this division. Now, I'm going with Virginia, but Miami, I think, maybe they could still pull this thing off. We'll see. Virginia Tech at number 4. Dropped a little bit on them from 8-4 down to 6-6. Not really impressed with this team so far this season. Long ways to go. We'll see if they can improve. Pitt, we dropped to 6-6 down to 5-7. Just really struggling to run the football right now, and that's what they need to be able to do. Defense not quite as good as we expected. So to me, Pitt has been a disappointment so far, but it's early. We'll see if they can get it turned around. Duke is at number 6. I have them going 4-8. Had them at 5-7 originally. Dropped them a game. Just the offense, they just didn't have much off. I know they were playing Alabama, great defense, but they didn't have much offense, not much in the passing game at all in that game. I think that's going to catch up to them. And then Georgia Tech, we had at 3-9 in the preseason. We have upped them to 4-8, so I'm a little bit higher on the Yellow Jackets. Defensively, this team is miles ahead of where they were last year. You know, we knew they'd take a step back offensively, getting away from that triple option, but defensively, this team looks really good. And because of that defense, I think they get a win in the ACC, but the offense is going to hold them back, and they ultimately will just go 4-8. So we have 3 teams missing a bowl game here in this Coastal Division. I think Virginia is still the favorite, but keep your eye out for North Carolina and Miami. Both of those teams, I think, could challenge Virginia in this division. It's going to be a fun one to watch, and I think it's one that won't be decided until well into November. So our conference championship game is Clemson versus Virginia. The exact same conference championship game prediction that we had in the preseason. No changes here. Most conferences at this point, we're not really going to change much. But you never know. The Big Ten, I did make a change there. So Clemson and Virginia, to me, are still the top 2 teams in the ACC. I've been saying that for a long time, all offseason long. Virginia has a defense that could maybe make this game interesting. Bryce Perkins, very underrated quarterback. If he can have a big day, I think Virginia has a chance to keep this game close. But I think keeping it close is about all you're going to get, because I don't see them beating Clemson. Clemson is just too good right now, and I think Clemson will win this game. Clemson will win the ACC Championship, and they will finish undefeated heading into the college football playoff. So yes, we have Clemson winning the ACC. No change there in that prediction. Can anyone challenge them? You know, Miami has potential. That's really the only team that kind of stands out to me as a team that can have potential to challenge Clemson outside of Virginia, but they're not there. The offensive line has a long ways to go. Clemson's defense looks really good again this year. They completely shut down Texas A&M this past Saturday. They've got so many weapons on offense. Clemson is still, to me, the best team in the country right now. That's why I have them at number 1, and that, of course, is why I picked them to win the ACC. So how about the odds to win the division for each team? We'll start with the Atlantic Division. I've got Clemson at 100%. They're not going to lose this division. I would be shocked if they lose this division. There's just no real competition for them. Florida State is a team that you say, well, maybe if things can get turned around there, that's a program that could challenge Clemson. Well, it's not going to happen this year based off of what we've seen so far. Clemson's at 100%. There's just no one that's going to be able to challenge them. I know a lot of people were jumping on the Syracuse bandwagon. Then they got destroyed by Maryland. They're not going to win the game this Saturday, I don't think. I don't believe they're going to win. I think Clemson will win that game easily. I think Clemson will win this division easily. And so that's why I put them at 100%. Now, in the Coastal Division, it's not quite so certain. I've got Virginia as a pretty decent favorite at 40%. But there are other teams there that I think could give them a run for their money. At this point, Miami and North Carolina look like the 2 teams that might be able to challenge Virginia in this division. I've got them both at 25%. So I think you have a 50-50 chance of Miami or North Carolina and then everyone else, if you're looking at it in that way. Miami, again, has potential. They've got the talent. They've got the roster to be able to compete with Virginia. I think they get them at home as well. North Carolina already has a win over Miami, so they would have that tiebreaker. They would need to be able to beat Virginia, though, probably to win this division. So I think those 2 teams have a decent chance. 25% is a pretty good chance, actually. Virginia Tech, I give them a 10% chance. I know they lost that opener, but it's a long season, and they still have time to get it turned around, and they've got some big games at home as well. So we're going to give them a chance. But odds to win the conference, I'm close to putting Clemson at 100%. That's how confident I am. But we're going to put them at 90%. Give Virginia a 5% chance to win this conference because of that defense. Same thing with Miami, great defense. Maybe they have a chance. And with North Carolina, I don't know. I mean, I didn't see this coming. Mac Brown's just completely turned this team around already. They won some close games. If they can just find ways to continue to win games and get to the ACC Championship, maybe they find a way to beat Clemson. Who knows? But I'm giving them a 2% chance to win the ACC. But it's still Clemson miles ahead of everyone else. They're going to win this conference. I would be shocked if they didn't. I'm going to be very surprised if they even lose a game this year. So Clemson at 90%. The other teams with a little bit of a chance, adding up to about 10%. Those are my thoughts on the ACC after week 2. We will continue to do this every single week and see how our predictions change. You guys can play along down in the comments below. Give us your predictions. Tell us how they've changed so far, and give me your thoughts on my predictions. Do you agree with them, disagree with them? Anything you want to add, feel free to do that. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more here on our ACC Football channel.